Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. I'm just gonna give everyone a couple of minutes just to join in. Welcome, everyone, as you're trickling in. We're really happy and excited that you're here, and we're gonna get started in just a minute or two. It's gonna give everyone time to jump in. If you're just joining us, hello and welcome. Thanks so much for joining in, and we're gonna get started in just a couple minutes. It's super cool to see everyone joining in. Hello and welcome if you're just joining us. We're just waiting a couple minutes, just giving everyone the chance to join in. If you'd like to, go ahead and share who you are, where you're from, what you do. That would be really fun. If not, don't feel pressured, no worries. But if you'd love to do that, we'd like to go ahead and we love to see where everyone's from and get to know everybody. And we'll start in just a couple minutes. If you're just joining us, hi and welcome. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. In the meantime, if you'd like to share who you are, where you're from in the webinar chat, we'd love to see that. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little message in, and we'll start in just a minute or two. Okay. I'm just going to make sure that the chat is enabled for everyone. Okay. If you had a message that said your chat was disabled, it should be fixed now. If you'd like to go ahead and share who you are, where you're from, we love to hear it. And I think we're going to go ahead and get started just so, we can go ahead and get started. And if you're just joining us, we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's Gabby. I'm the EdTech Marketing Specialist from Capstone, and I'm really excited to welcome you all to this webinar. So I'll go ahead and ask our slideshow driver just to go ahead and go to our next slide. So here at Capstone, we are all about helping kids succeed by making learning fun. And we know that if you're joining us today, that's your goal too. And we're really excited that you're all here with us and that we're all here together to help each other succeed and to help each other learn about how we can make learning fun for everyone. So we're going to go ahead to our next slide. So just a couple of housekeeping things before we begin. If you have questions as we're going through this webinar, you can absolutely ask us at any time. You can go ahead and put those questions in the chat. And actually, I'm here and my colleague Emily is here as well to answer any questions that you have. We can field them to our presenters. Or if we're able to, we'll answer them in the chat for you. You can also use the Q&A function, and that will send a question directly to us. And if you'd rather do that, that's fine too. It's up to you. Either one is totally fine. As another little housekeeping bit, this webinar is being recorded. So you can watch it later, so you don't have to worry about taking notes or anything like that as you're going through. You can also look forward to, in the next day or so, a follow-up email that will have the webinar recording. It will have the deck that we'll be sharing today and any other resources necessary. So you can look forward to that and not worry so much about, taking all your notes and recording everything yourself. And lastly, I just want to invite you to, if you haven't already, definitely connect with us online on social. You can tweet at us at Capstone Pub, and you can use hashtag Capstone Connect. So I'll go ahead and I want to introduce our presenters really quick. So I would like to start by going ahead and introducing Dr. Amanda Sullivan. She's a researcher, educator, and author. She's the senior program developer at National Girls Collaborative Project. Prior to that, Amanda actually served as the associate director and lecturer in the Early Childhood Technology Certificate Program at Tufts University. Amanda also holds a master's and a PhD in child development from Tufts University, where she worked with the Developmental Technologies Research Group. We're grateful to have Amanda as a member of our Capstone Publishers Digital Advisory Panel today. And today she's going to be sharing all about inquiry-based learning. I also want to introduce our other presenters as well. So we are also really lucky to be joined by former educators Sara Norman and Angie Kaltoff. Angie is going to introduce Capstone's summer pilot program and how it can support and even create summer learning opportunities. And Sara is going to take us on a deep dive through the tools that are being offered and how they can serve your district through that lens of inquiry-based learning. So without any further ado, I am going to go ahead and pass it off to Angie, who's going to give you a little rundown of our agenda, and then she'll take it away.
Thank you, Gabby, and welcome to everyone on the call. Thank you for spending your time with us this afternoon. It's afternoon for me. So wherever you are, thank you for being with us. We appreciate you. This is our agenda for about the next hour. We just did our introductions, and now we are going to move into summer learning opportunities with Capstone, share some resources around inquiry-based learning, and end with a live demo of how Capstone products will be able to help you and your students at any time of the year, but particularly for the next hour, we're going to talk about how it can help over the summer months as they dive into inquiry-based learning. And then we'll end our time with the opportunity to answer some questions live, but again, please put them in the chat at any time. So we know that summer learning looks different for everyone. As educators, we personalize our instruction for our students, and at Capstone, we want to help personalize our programs for you and your individual district needs. Summer learning could be formalized in an extended school year setting. It could be summer camps, could be hosted as community activities or at-home engagement with families. We are curious, and we would love to know what summer learning will look like for you and your district. So in the chat, go ahead and start to share what will that summer learning look like for you. Our summer pilot aims to help you and your school district eliminate barriers to summer reading and reduce the associated learning loss. So now we're going to start looking at how we can do that. Our trusted Capstone resources are designed to support you in your work across many domains, both in the summer and during the academic year. In this webinar, we're going to focus on how, through an inquiry-based learning approach, our products could support you in your programming in the areas of RTI and MTSS, health and wellness, DEI, and more. So make sure you reach out to us if you see a topic that you'd like to discuss further that we aren't addressing in this webinar. We are delighted to be able to provide to you at no cost across access to the entire Capstone Connect package in order to support your efforts in continuing learning over the summer as our pilot. Capstone Connect is a hub that will allow your educators to find everything they need through a title or standard search. In addition, they'll be inspired through different themes on the Capstone Connect landing page and have the ability to see what's trending in your district based on use. Each tool on this screen is standards aligned to support instruction in your learning environment and features multi-user simultaneous access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which means that all of your students can access this content from anywhere at any time, as long as they have an internet-enabled device. We want to support you, your educators, your students, and your families as they build their love of reading. Our products are designed with early to non-readers in mind, and our accessibility features support all. As a former English language teacher, one feature that I really appreciated was the natural voice audio across all the Capstone digital products. All of your students will be able to independently listen to our Capstone interactive ebooks and articles in PebbleGo being read to them by an actual person, not a robotic voice. This feature supported my students as their learning was led with inquiry in mind. So over the summer, you will have access to the following Capstone resources you see here on the screen. So if I start on the left side of the screen, you'll see Pebble Go, which offers engaging articles and supporting multimedia that are aligned to K2 standards. Pebble Go Spanish, which offers everything you have in Pebble Go, but in Spanish, including that natural voice audio. Capstone Interactive eBooks, and Capstone Connect, where your educators will find activities and instructional materials that Sara will cover in more detail. So our goal for the summer pilot is to help you and your district eliminate barriers to summer reading and reduce the associated learning loss at no cost to you. Like I mentioned earlier, the resources included can be used in a summer school setting, maybe tutoring, intervention programs at home. Your Capstone expert will help you personalize your pilot and a set of products that meet your goals. So just like we personalize learning for our students, we'd like to personalize a plan for you. Now I'll turn it over to Dr. Amanda Sullivan to dive into how Capstone products can support inquiry-based learning over the summer months.
Thank you. Thanks for that great introduction. Hello, I'm Amanda. It's so great to be with all of you this evening. I guess for me, would call this evening in Eastern time. I'm really thrilled to talk about how we can encourage inquiry-based learning this summer, regardless of what your setting looks like. So when we're thinking about inquiry-based learning, we're thinking about supporting students and families over the summer. We're really asking this question: what makes children want to learn? Not just how we can teach them or what makes them learn, but what really sparks that motivation to learn more, that desire to ask questions, make discoveries, and take control of their learning, and what empowers them to want to learn. I think this is probably what many of you are hoping for the students that you support year-round and through the summer. So to take that a step further, what makes them not want to learn? What makes them stop asking questions and stop being curious and feeling less connected and empowered to learn and to drive their own learning process? You know, if you work with very young children, you probably know that they start out really naturally curious, really naturally inquiring about the world around them. They ask a ton of questions. Research has shown that between the ages of 2 and 5, for example, kids ask around 40,000 questions. But that number starts to decline as they enter kindergarten, right around age 5, when they're starting their formal education journey. This is when kids start asking less questions, and their curiosity, their excitement, and that self-motivation for learning also starts to decrease. So there's, of course, a lot of different factors of what's going on when kids are starting school, but at the end of the day, that's not what we really hope for our students. We're hoping to have lifelong learners who are motivated to ask questions and to never stop questioning the status quo and never stop questioning the world around them. So how do we avoid this? What we want to do is to support children's inquiry, that natural desire, that natural inquiry to ask questions and to learn. Inquiry-based learning is really all about just triggering students' curiosity. And it can look like and feel like a lot of different things. And Angie really beautifully talked about how we want to help you personalize your students' experience and personalize your teaching experience. Inquiry-based learning can look like research projects, project-based learning. It could look like research with questions, fostering a community of questions and discussions. It looks active. It usually looks like student-centered, giving kids autonomy and empowering them as the drivers of their educational experience. And we'll get more specific about that as this webinar continues. Research has shown that inquiry-based learning really does help deepen the learning process for students and helps them become self-sufficient within and outside of school and classroom contexts, which is so important. We're thinking about supporting students, not just academically, but their whole selves. Inquiry-based learning tends to better support differentiated instructions and having the teachers have the opportunity to meet students where they're at and meet students individually with different approaches and feedback. And at the end of the day, inquiry-based learning is all about fostering this curiosity and this joy for learning. We know from research that inquiry-based learning does help stimulate intellectual curiosity. So what does that term mean? That term means the motivation to seek answers to what is unknown. And there's a lot of research out there around intellectual curiosity, and that it's a driving force behind critical thinking, science engagement, media literacy, and it really is a foundation of early learning. So that's why it's so important to think about fostering curiosity and supporting kids in being curious through inquiry-based learning approaches. So what you're all here to talk about and think about today is really about those summer settings. As Angie said, whether you're thinking about summer camps, supporting students in their home settings, summer school, different immersion programs over the summer, inquiry-based learning really naturally fits into that summertime time of the year. It's a really great time to help follow student interests. To create projects that support student choice and encourages creativity, hands-on learning, and especially projects that have multiple solutions where kids can be successful in many different ways. We want to think about providing opportunities for discussion and really nurturing a cycle of questioning, not just finding answers. That's something that really is a big part of what happens in formal school, where kids shut down on asking questions. They get really focused on providing the right answer, finding the right answer, getting it right. And really what we want to do is have them continue asking the right questions, not just focused on the right answer. So when looking at what inquiry-based learning can look like over the summer, we really want to think about nurturing that cycle of questioning. And when we're thinking about these summer months, it's really important to think about the big picture and the impact that you're all making, especially if you're using digital tools like some of the ones that Sara will be sharing later. We think this will help to support equity and access for all students who might not necessarily have that high quality access to technology and digital information over the summer months. Inquiry-based learning over the summer will help provide authentic opportunities to explore topics that are interesting and important to kids, things like health and wellness, including SEL. It provides in a very engaging opportunity to boost learning retention and help with student engagement, and really to help reaching the learning goals of a variety of students, regardless of their social, emotional, or academic needs. Because at the end of the day, inquiry-based learning is all about empowering students. Regardless of what you teach, I tend to be more in the STEM fields. Inquiry, this process of inquiry and questioning and research and revision and asking more questions, that's present throughout all curricular domains. So regardless of what you're teaching or exploring or supporting for your students this summer, inquiry-based learning has a place in that. There's a lot of research that links this approach to academic success. We've seen that inquiry-based learning is more effective than traditional teacher-directed learning, especially when it's supported by teacher scaffolding. We know there's a ton of research on intellectual curiosity, which is fostered through inquiry-based learning. And we've seen that it's a key determinant of academic success beginning in kindergarten, and also associated with greater reading and math achievement beginning in kindergarten. I really love this quote here. Classrooms that support an inquiry stance and provide activities that promote an inquiry mindset are critical to student success and their ability to understand the world around them. This is from this great white paper on intellectual curiosity and inquiry-based learning in elementary classrooms. As Gabby mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, you'll get access to all of these slides. So everything that's blue here, that's a link in case you're curious about reading more or diving deeper into any of the topics that I've mentioned. So how exactly are you going to do this over the summer? Well, those tools and resources that Angie mentioned, I'll pass it on to Sara in just a few minutes to talk about more specifics. But thinking broadly about it, we think about inquiry-based learning over the summer. We want to think about providing open-ended, hands-on opportunities for learning. Thinking about providing the materials that will let kids experiment and make discoveries and empower power their own learning, answering their own questions through their own making, experimentation, or collection of data. That's really important. But of course, digital tools are incredibly important too, and we're going to be talking about a lot of digital tools with you tonight. And these tools should support diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in my work in educational technology, I always talk about choosing digital tools that allow kids to be creators of their digital experience, not just consumers of it. So thinking about digital tools that support creation rather than just digital tools for getting information, if that makes sense. And then, of course, books, ebooks, audiobooks, research tools. These are all wonderful ways for kids to explore those questions that they're passionate about, the questions that you help them personalize within the subjects that you're exploring. They need these books and research tools and articles to be able to find the answers about the things that they're really passionate about and curious about. And luckily for you, in just a few minutes, you'll be hearing about how all the tools, resources, curriculum, all that stuff that Capstone has to offer really embodies everything here on this list. And so I think you'll be hearing about some really amazing resources to help support inquiry-based learning this summer. With the right tools and mindset, we really can achieve almost anything. And I think it's really amazing that you're all here spending your time thinking about this, thinking about how you can make an impact with students this summer. And I really commend all of you for that. And want to just remind you, sometimes I think we need a little bit of positivity to really know that what we're doing does make a positive impact. And you saw some of the research that shows what a positive impact this approach can have. And with the tools that Sara will be sharing in just a few moments, you'll be learning even more specifics of how you can achieve whatever your learning goals are for your students this summer. If you're curious about learning more about any of the research or things that I shared, definitely check out the Pebble Go blog, where I've been writing a bunch of different blog posts connected to research with resources and tips all about fostering curiosity and how we can support students year-round with their intellectual curiosity, inquiry-based learning, and just fostering that lifelong love of learning. But now I'm so thrilled to turn it over to Sara Norman, the digital product manager at Capstone, so that she can get into all the specifics that you're curious about, all the specific Capstone tools and resources that will help you with supporting inquiry-based learning this summer. So let me turn it over to Sara.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me see. All right, I'll share my screen. We'll get that going here. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan, for that great introduction, as well as all of that wonderful information about inquiry-based learning. As an educator and even as a parent, I appreciate hearing, and every time I hear or read about it, I learn like new tidbits that I can hold on to. So I'm so grateful for that. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here with you all today to share about the amazing Capstone products that I have loved for just about a decade now, that I discovered when I was teaching kindergarten. And more specifically focusing today really on how they've helped me in the past as a targeted services coordinator for both summer and after school programming, as well as an educator in gifted and talented or high potential learners summer academy. So we have so many great features throughout our product lines that I'm really excited to highlight for you all today, focusing really on that summer program information and important kind of key callouts that I think are really pertinent to the work that you do in the summertime. But if at any time you have questions about the features or want to learn more, please just drop us a note in the chat feature, because I know I'm going to be going through it pretty quick. I want to be mindful of our time, kind of a high level overview. So please just drop us a chat and we will most certainly connect you with one of our teams. And I also want to give a shout out on anyone that's participating in our Summer Connect pilot will get the chance to meet with our customer success team to go through in more detail about our products and the features that we have. So with that, let's jump in. As you can see on the screen there, this is our login page. So I wanted to start here because I know as a summer programming coordinator, I was often thinking about how we can access the resources. How are our students going to access what they need? We know in the summer you often are working with modified spaces, whether the building you're in is being cleaned, maybe you have access to a computer lab, you don't, you might be teaching in a different space or building than you normally do. Sometimes we have parts with iPads or Chromebooks. So I wanted to just put your mind at ease that our login not only is so wonderfully simple that our students can easily log into and can get right to the work at hand, but it does work with any device with internet access. So it's a login page that for all students and educators, you would come here and log in, and it will take you right to our student landing page. And we're going to go through and take a deep dive in here a little bit in a little while. But first, I want to bring you over to the educator facing side, our Capstone Connect homepage. And as you can see on our Capstone Connect homepage, there's a lot of great features. We have search by standards and title search. We have a section for featured content, as well as our activity bundles and a trending section. So I'm going to start first today in our activity bundle section, partly because I think it's my favorite, but also because I think it's really important to understand some of the content that we're going to be showing you throughout. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew what we were talking about when we talk about activity bundles or activity plans. So we have 58 activity bundles. An activity bundle is holds 5 activity plans. And I'll show you, we're going to dive into one here in a little bit. And what is an activity plan? Well, an activity plan is a cross-curricular, standard-aligned thematic unit, if you will, with different information on activities that you can easily incorporate into your instruction. So let's take a look at what's inside of there. As you can see, we have it separated by K2 and 3-5. There's so many amazing themes that not only align to your summer themes, because I know in education, especially elementary, we love a good theme in the summer and year-round too. But they're also standards-based, really hitting on those important core concepts for those grade levels. So one of my favorite activity bundles I really enjoy going into is the Indigenous Peoples Month bundle. And partly why I like this one so much is I found out 2 days before school year started that I was teaching 5th grade. And I come from a kindergarten background, so I was a little overwhelmed by the 5th grade standards and so grateful that this bundle has these kind of activities and information for somebody that was new to it, somebody like me. So let's take a look at this plan and these bundles and what's really in here. So every bundle that you open, you'll find an introduction page with different information about how do you utilize this bundle, what are you going to find in each plan, and the best way to align it to the work that your educators are doing. You'll notice in each plan, there are 3 core sections. There's a Discover section, which focuses on the research, as well as a unique graphic organizer for each topic. There's an Engage section that provides a maker activity, as well as an EdTech activity that can be used together or they can be used separately. And there's a share out activity because we know how important that reflection piece is. That is already ready to use with our partners in Flip. The topics are there for you so that students and educators can jump in and start using it straight away. So with 58 bundles, 5 plans in each bundle, that's 290 plans if you're doing the quick math, and that's over 1,000 unique learning opportunities that are provided within these activity bundles. We really believe that all instruction and acceleration, whether it's in the summer or in the school year, begins with great teaching and learning, and that is led by a great educator. These activity bundles are such a wonderful way to support your staff so that everyone can feel confident being one of those great educators. And let me explain a little bit more why. We know that right now there's often staffing shortages sometimes, substitute shortages. We know in summer programming, you're often having staff that are coming from different grade levels or content areas than perhaps they teach during the school year. I knew one time I taught 6th grade math. What? So we want to make sure that everyone feels supported, and these activity bundles really help bring that equity to instruction for all of your educators in your summer programming. So let's look at this activity plan here. This one is for Sarah Winnemucca, and every activity plan will have a summary for you. It will highlight the standards that it's aligned to. For this plan, there's ISTE standards, as well as social studies, that C3 framework, and different literacy components as well. There's the instructional goals, and then there's those 3 buckets that we talked about. as well as that advanced preparation and resources section. And again, I really appreciate that it calls out what I need to do so that I can efficiently and quickly be prepared and ready to give the best instruction that I can. So let's look into the depth of these a little bit more. What does that actually mean? So in our Discover section is where we really focus on research and also sharing out that research in an individualized graphic organizer that our students can use. And it's created focused on the topic as well as that grade level. This is so helpful for thinking through those great question components that you heard Dr. Sullivan talk about. Really, it brings in those questioning cycles in inquiry-based learning because we provided for our educators discussion questions, prompts, turn and talk prompts, which we know is a key component to like culturally relevant and responsible teaching. And you don't have to just think of these off the top of your head as an educator. You're able to find really great in-depth depth of knowledge and discussion questions ready to go that really help stem and build that inquiry-based learning in your classroom. You'll notice that the lessons or the activities are kind of situated out, not scripted with here's every single word you need to say, but here's how you would go about doing it. So for example, with the graphic organizer, we really highlight that gradual release of responsibility, which is a great instructional practice with the I do, we do, you do format. And it calls that all out. So even if I was new to teaching or new to teaching that grade, it would be a developmentally appropriate way of walking my students through it so that they can get the best academic success and learning from this lesson or from this activity. We have also the Engage section, like I mentioned, with a maker activity and an ed tech activity. And what I love about this, the maker activities are some of my favorites. They're tried and true. These activity plans were written by educators for educators. They are made to fit into your format, your schedule, whatever that might look like in summer programming. You can see that we call out here the different minutes and times. And again, you don't have to do them all in order. They can be chunked out. So perhaps you just want to do the maker activity, or you want to only do the research and then the share out with flips. You can customize this to fit your needs, however it best works for you and your students. So the maker activity is always super fun and hands-on, and it utilizes materials that are found in your classroom. And that's super important because we know that budget is a really important thing to consider for summer programming. Also, I've been that educator on a Sunday night, Amazoning, to my classroom, these buttons that are $8 a piece or whatever, and every student needs 4. Like, nobody wants to do that, right? So we really wanted to focus on those materials that you can easily find and support your educators with in your summer programming. You'll also see ed tech activity, which is another way to just refocus on that learning at hand. So we're taking that content, that core content, and we are using different learning modals to help our students learn it and to go through it. And we know that's so important, especially when we look at extended school year programming in the summer. It needs to be aligned to that tier 1 content, but with different learning modals so that all students can have access to it. So here's an easy way to take a look at that topic and that content, but in a variety of different learning spaces that best fit your students' needs. Again, we've got some of those great depth of knowledge questions that are such an integral part of that questioning cycle, like Dr. Sullivan shared with you. And then the share out, the reflection piece for students to really share their learning. Again, in partnership with our friends at Flip, those topics are ready to go, easy to use, and so fun. In fact, I would say all of these activities are fun. Let's show, I want to take a look at what those look like. So what you would find is the vocabulary component as well, where we highlighted about 5 to 8 tier 2 level vocabulary words. We know that vocabulary is such an instrumental part of comprehension. I know many districts right now are focusing on the science of reading. And if you think back to that Scarborough's rope, you will know that vocabulary is really interwoven into that comprehension component. So we want to make sure that it's easily accessible, and that everybody can receive great instruction around that vocabulary to continue to build to our comprehension levels. Here's the graphic organizer, like I mentioned. It is specific to this plan, so you will find 5 different graphic organizers in this bundle. And one of the things that I love about it is they really took consideration to think about the level of student. So we've turned it on its side, right? So you have more writing space here, which is developmentally appropriate for our K2 students, and kind of highlighting and looking at those summary features, which is such an important literacy standard that flows all throughout the content that we're working on. Plus, it's really fun. And you can draw pictures, you can write the words, you can bring in the vocabulary words. There's so many great things to do with it. And I want to show you why we're in here, actually, since we just looked at Sarah Winnemucca. Not all of our activity bundles have a 3.5 version, but when I think about summer programming, we're often differentiating for a unique group of students. And so I want to pull the 3.5 bundle for you and show you. We happen to have a plan here for Sarah Winnemucca as well. Again, you're going to get 5 new, right? A new graphic organizer, new research topic and activity to go with that, a new maker activity, a new EdTech activity, a new flip topic. So you really got lots of great options to differentiate. But here's the graphic organizer that is in the 3.5 bundle. So same content or very similar content, but now you can easily differentiate for that group of students. Perhaps you have somebody who's a high flyer in your younger grades and you want to pull that through. And so they're going to work on this graphic organizer instead. Or maybe somebody needs some support in the other summarizing skills. So you're going to use the K2 version instead. So there's lots of options, and I appreciate the support as an educator in how I might be able to differentiate for my students, because we know that's at the core of that purpose of our summer programming, to really reach our students where they're at. Okay, I feel like I'm talking so fast. There's so much great information, but I also wanted to highlight here, when we go into it, one of my favorite summer programming types is our kindergarten readiness groups. We often in districts, right, have a kindergarten readiness camp that happens 1 week or 2 weeks to help prep our incoming kindergartners for back to school time so they can get used to it. And as a former kindergarten teacher, I absolutely love this first week of school activity bundle. You can, I'll download this here quick and show you. And the reason why I like it is I think for kindergarten readiness in the summer, not only are we able to really help get them used to the school and to the format of what's happening, but we want to start slowly layering in those academic pieces. We know that in summer programming, you're often working on not only academics, right, but as like SEL, those social emotional components, and even some behavior support components. So this first week of school activity plan can be used in so many ways. So perhaps I wanted to talk to them about communication. And we're going to research a little bit, what does communication look like at school versus look like at home? How might that be different? I'm going to scroll down quick here. You can see that graphic organizer again, another developmentally appropriate one. We could draw pictures here, or we could do some writing. And then the maker activity, I mean, paper cup stones, how fun is that? And so relevant to those standards that we're working on with our youngest learners. So I think it's just such a great way to tie all of those components in. It's really, truly, and can be used as well for, you know, if you're needing to reteach some of those skills, right? As a part of maybe like some of your systems that you use in your school, like PBIS or RCD or restorative practices, right? Or responsive classroom. We know that for MTSS and RTI, you're looking at not only the academic side, but the behavior side as well. And here's a great way to take both of those sides and bridge them together and help support your students truly where they need to be supported and help them make those connections across all pieces within your programming. So, but enough about activity bundles for now, because again, I could probably talk for a whole hour about that. We know we've got great content, and it is so fun to see the students jumping in and really getting the chance to research and use that inquiry-based learning, their curiosities driving where they want to go. We know we can support your summer programming by providing that vetted, amazing content This is at the heart of what we do and one of the reasons why I love Capstone so much. But I want to show you how educators can find that content. So let's jump back to the top of this Connect homepage. And there are two ways that you can find as an educator the content. The first is the Search by Standards feature. Search by Standards is a really, really helpful feature. Again, providing that equity in instruction. If you're new to a grade level, if you're new to content, perhaps you're new to education completely. You might be a student teacher, or you might be somebody who is acting as a substitute teacher to help out. This is a great place to go to help guide what you should be teaching and how to best teach that for our students. So as you can see, the first step is you get to select the state or national standards. So we have every state. We also have things like Next Gen Science, our CASEL framework for that social emotional learning, our ISTE standards. You'll see C3 social studies standards here. So wherever, whether you're a new or a novice educator or a veteran educator, there are always ways that we can continue to grow and expand and understand our instructional practices. And I think this is such a great tool to do that with. So I'm going to choose the Minnesota standards to start, and we'll pick, let's say, science. So again, maybe this summer I was teaching, 8th grade social studies, and I said I would help with summer programming. And now I'm teaching 1st grade science, and I'm a little unsure of what I need to do. This is where your educators can come and get some guidance on how to kind of really go through that. So you'll see what we were looking at on the Minnesota Science Grade 1 at the top. And every one of these is selectable, and it starts with the standard and breaks it down to the strand and even the substandard. So I'm going to choose the life science. And when we go into here, it's going to return, we've got over 700 results for life science, which is really, really cool to see, because we know that is a core component of our science standards. And within this search results, I can filter down based on the resource type that I'm looking for. So perhaps I know I am just looking for ebooks because that's something that I need to use to supplement some of the work that we're doing. I can select that. Or maybe I'm looking just for those activity plans that we talked about. And here you can see all of those appropriate activity plans aligned to that standard, ready to go, ready to use. So fun, and helps keep things really efficient, especially in the summertime. When you are working through and oftentimes working in a curriculum that isn't your core curriculum that you use during the summer or during the school year. So when we're in here, there is some features I want to call out. Not only can you tell, like you can see the different ebooks here or the different type of articles, you have the ability to copy that link directly here. And I'll show you how that works in a second. But why that's important to me as an educator, especially thinking about summer programming, is I can easily then integrate this into my LMS. So maybe I use Seesaw, and that's how I'm going to communicate with my students this summer, or Schoology, or Google Classroom even, whatever type of format that you're using, you can copy these links and put them in there for your students to easily access the content. Let me show you what happens here when we put that SQS link. It takes you right directly to that resource, which is so helpful, especially for our youngest learners, because then they can even just skip that sign-on page and go directly to the resource that you want them to. We know that when our students aren't thinking about the format, they can really focus on the content and that great learning, letting their curiosity drive that inquiry-based learning that we know is so integral to having a successful summer programming and summer year, or summer, like it's like its own little year. Sometimes it feels like maybe. And then the next piece that I wanted to show was the title search. I really like this part because if I'm looking at for maybe something to support those themes that we have, or again, I wanted something really specific. Maybe my students were asking me questions like Dr. Sullivan talked about, and I wanted to find something really pertinent to what their interest levels are, where I'm thinking again about, I'm bringing a group of students together this summer. So maybe I search friends, because we know in summer programming, it's students that are coming oftentimes for a variety of different classrooms. They're new to each other. They're new to you as an educator. So what a great time to take a pause and jump in and really focus on what does it mean to make friends, right? How do we build that classroom community for our summer programming? So here are some great articles and ebooks that you can look at, the activity plans as well, that you can easily pull into those lessons. And I want to show too, so if I was jumping in, and I can either copy that link over again, or I can just click right on it, and it will bring me right to that resource itself. So if I come back here and it opens it up into a new tab, so maybe I'm going to jump into the Pebble Go article, the Making New Friends. I want to call out a few features here while we're in Pebble Go that I think is really important to helping students drive that research and their learning. You'll notice in our Pebble Go and our Pebble Go Next articles, they really follow similar formats. They have these tabs across the top that students can click through. That helps guide their learning, helps with that summary piece, as well as an educator. I appreciated having these for when I would create graphic organizers or how we would structure our conversations around our learning. You'll also notice that within the different tabs, there's this great yellow read aloud button, and I'm going to play that here so you can hear it.
Good friends encourage you to be your best self.
What I love about that and appreciate is so many things. That is a natural voice read aloud audio that you heard Angie talk about earlier. And I really appreciate that as a great way to meet my students where they're at. If I have a student that maybe isn't reading at grade level yet, but I want them to be able to access their grade level content, they're able to use that read aloud feature to be able to get that comprehension for that core content. It also, I appreciate that it highlights the words.
Listening and talking together.
It highlights it as it's going. So as a reading interventionist, that prosody that it's modeling, that fluency information, not only highlighting the tracking. So we're building and deepening those skills. I mentioned earlier the science of reading skills, right? That is some of those core components to building comprehension, is understanding how to read those sentences fluently, noticing each one of those words. That helps bring us from that really kind of that surface code reading to really being able to understand the text thoroughly. Another piece that I appreciate is the call out for the vocabulary words. So anytime in Pebble Go, you see these highlighted words, you can click on it. They are typically tier 2 words that allows your students to get more information and just continue to grow that background knowledge and depth of understanding. It also has the natural voice read aloud so they can hear the word and the definition with it as well. Such an important part of building that comprehension and understanding. You can also come back out and you can see the different breadcrumb trails as we have the 5 different modules. And we have the same here on our Pebble Go Next. I should say Pebble Go is our K2 focus, and Pebble Go Next is really focused on 3-5. So when I come into here, I know States is a very popular standard for that grade 3 through 5 range. And perhaps I'm wanting my students to have that student choice and that student voice that we know is an integral part of not only inquiry-based learning, but also engagement in our content and what they're doing. I can actually copy this link here. So instead of sending my students to each individual state, I can copy the link to any subcategory, and then I can post that and my students can choose what they want to learn about. So they're letting that curiosity, like you heard Dr. Sullivan talk about, drive that learning, instantly builds that engagement and really can allow our students' voice to shine through while still meeting those core standards that we know we want to meet. So let's take a look at one of the Pebble Go Next articles really quick. You'll see those tabs across the top as well. And a little bit more, there's a few more in the Pebble Go Next, because again, we're building that rigor at a higher level. So you also will notice when you scroll through that the text is a little bit longer, a little more in depth, as well as you've got some great images, maps, and timelines that help support that learning for that grade level as well. You still have that read aloud audio button, that natural voice audio that helps support the learning, the fluency, and different abilities to access that material. And then here you'll notice that the words aren't highlighted for the vocabulary words. In Pebble Go Next, you can actually click on any of the words that are there to understand, to hear how it's pronounced, to get a definition of it, as well as see the word class, the different types of vocabulary word classes that we know is an important part of literacy instruction for those grade levels. So many wonderful supports to scaffold and help encourage our students as they are building their curiosity and really diving into some fun research. I'm going to head back to our main platform. So we've talked about Pebble Go and Pebble Go Next. Take a look really quick at the ebook side of things. I think this is such a fun landing page. As a part of the summer pilot, you would have access to about 3,500 books, I believe. And you will see so many great and engaging topics here. Students can come here and just peruse this like they would any other bookshelf. And I appreciate how when they jump in, maybe they see this book and they're like, I'm really interested in frogs and life cycles. You'll see also that they have the ability to choose from more in that series. So again, being a part of that question cycle that we know is an important part of the inquiry-based learning, as well as allowing our students to take that time to really dig into what interests them so they feel really connected to that learning that they're doing in your summer programming. When we open up our ebook on the platform, as I showed you before, you will see you can turn through the book just like you would a print book. You have the ability to have that read aloud as well, that natural voice audio. Such a great support for all of our students. Specifically thinking of when I taught kindergarten for a few years, I had students that were new to country, and I appreciated the read aloud audio that was a part of all of it, because as they were learning not only the content and learning English, they were able to hear it, to see, to make great connections to the work that they were doing. Same with when I taught 5th grade, I had some students that were reading at a below grade level, and having that read aloud audio allowed them to still participate in the exact same content that their peers were participating in, and nobody would know that they were listening to it versus reading it on their own. So I think it's such a wonderful component to really creating that safe community where all members feel like they belong. That is an important part of that DEI work that I know is integrated through all of the things that you do in your summer programming. So with that, I want to jump over here to our featured content section. Checking my time, making sure we're doing okay. So featured content is a wonderful highlight of about 25 or so resources every month. These resources that you'll see here are located in 2 carousels. There's a K2 carousel as well as the 3-5. And you'll notice there's about 25 or so resources that are aligned to thematic units, holidays, current events, other special interests. So it's a fun place to come as an educator to find different resources that align with what I'm focusing on in my classroom or that my students are really, really curious about. Not only are there cool topics, but I also appreciate how it brings in different perspectives, things that are a little bit different than my core curriculum, maybe some biographies of people that I wasn't aware of, or bringing in, we know one way to connect with our students is bringing in that youth culture, right? So highlighting different people that they're really connected to while still being able to tie to our core standards and the work that we're doing. You'll notice that for some of them, like Miss Lewis here, we have a Pebble Go and a Pebble Go Next article. So again, they can easily differentiate as an educator. You can have your students be looking at her background and her history and all of the awesome things that she did, the impactful work, and you can send them to the place that best fits where they're at in their learning levels. And you can easily click, if you can see here, they have that copy link icon right here in the featured content. So I know many of our educators build choice boards, or again, you're integrating it into your LMS systems. You can easily just copy those links and drop them into that so that you are efficiently, quickly providing that wonderful access to all of your students. We talked about the activity bundles here, and I think I'm getting close on time, so we're going to wrap it up here in the trending section. This is a super, super fun section. I like this as an educator because it shows me what my students are interested in. It really gives you kind of a snapshot as to what they're looking at. So you have 3 sections: the PebbleGo articles, the PebbleGo Next articles, and the ebooks. And you can view the top articles. The bigger the text is, the more that those are being accessed at the school or at the state level. And then you can also see at the global level what students are reading about. And I find this to be beneficial for a variety of reasons. One, if I'm looking to, I have a student that comes up to me and is like, I don't know what I want to read about, right? Well, here, let's look and see what other kids are reading about. You know, look at that, Patrick Mahomes, you know, who would have thought, right? So things like that. Or as an educator, when I come down to the school level, I can see things that help give me insight to my students' curiosity. And then I can help encourage that inquiry-based learning by building upon that. So perhaps I see Taylor Swift here, and maybe tomorrow at free play, I play, you know, Kids Bop Taylor Swift. Or I can see that we've got some interest in the history of money. So now when I bring money in as my math concept, I'm going to touch base on some of that so that we're really feeding and helping move that curiosity and build that learning for all of our students. Or I might be wondering, like, if I go in here and if I make it larger, these are all interactive, so it'll take me right to the different titles. So perhaps I'm looking at freshwater fishing and I'm like, what are my kids reading about? What are they interested in? Well, I can see now I've got some great nonfiction information and somebody's intrigued about this. So it's maybe something we're going to talk about in a sharing, or I can ask, you know, more specific questions, or I might realize, hey, I don't have a ton of this in my classroom, so I'm going to go to the library, or I'm going to purchase some more print books to help encourage that curiosity that my students have around these different topics. So with all of that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and just say, you know, I appreciate getting the chance to give a very brief, quick overview about our platform. It truly is a safe platform that educators can feel supported and that everyone can feel comfortable with students, you know, really running with that inquiry-based learning like you heard Dr. Sullivan talk about, because our students can really just continue to build and dig in and do all of that important research that they're doing. So really, whether it's, no matter what that summer programming setup looks like for the summer, I think it's such a great support and value add to the important work that all of our educators and our students and our districts and everyone is doing as they continue to help our students where they're at and build them up for success for the fall. So with that, I will kick it out to the whole group and see if there's any questions that we can ask for or answer for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much, Angie and Amanda too. I don't think I see any questions in the chat at the moment, but definitely if anyone does have questions, please put them in the chat, or if you want to, if you didn't have time earlier to share, you know, how you support inquiry-based learning or how you plan to, that would be great. I did have a question, you know, that I did see elsewhere in our Q&A. Let me just pull that up really quickly. So I did see a question. Someone said that they are interested in the pilot. That's awesome. Do you have any suggestions on how to get educators and parents on board? So thank you so much for asking that. I'm really excited to hear that you're interested and excited about the pilot. And of course, getting parents and educators on board is definitely like an exciting next step. So like we did mention earlier, our customer success team is actually going to be hosting an onboard call for those who participate in the pilot. Educators can join and we'll make sure we can answer any questions and get you set up and get you comfortable. Additionally, there will be a webpage for the pilot specifically with ready-to-go resources for educators and for parents. So you'll be able to find those there. It'll also include letters about summer learning and Capstone for parents, so you can send those out and then they're ready to go. There'll also be about like 50 plus worksheets, video tutorials, and more. So definitely those will be available to you, so you don't need to worry about that, and you can use that as you're getting everyone else on board. I don't think I have any more questions at the moment. I'm actually going to share it out. Any of our presenters, any of you, did you guys have questions that were maybe sent to you that you wanted to answer? Angie, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I did see one more question about the pilot itself, and we would like to encourage you to work with your Capstone representative to personalize that for you in your learning environment. Amanda and Sarah both shared about our great tools and the depth that they go into, as well as how they connect to inquiry-based learning over the summer. But also, we know that they're a great tool for you in your learning recovery, and that we want our students to keep reading, and the more opportunities they have to read, the better readers they'll become. And our tools, as you can see, seamlessly work with other resources that you might already be using in your classrooms. And like Sarah showed, they're really easy to bring into your LMS or other activities that you're already planning to do. So our goal here is to really help you and your students have access and continue the learning through the summer, whether it's through that inquiry-based approach or just diving in and connecting it to your current resources.
Awesome. Well, I don't see any other questions, and I think we are at time. I want to be respectful of everyone's time as well. So I want to just give a thank you again to our presenters. Thank you, Dr. Amanda. Thank you, Angie, and thank you, Sarah. And of course, Emily, thank you for monitoring the chat as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. It's great to see you, and we're really excited that you're excited about this pilot and ready to learn and explore. So thank you, everyone, so much. If anyone does have questions that you're thinking of now, you can always let us know in the chat. If you want to put your name or email, we can reach out to you. Or as always, of course, we will be sending that follow-up. You can respond to that, or you can always reach out to us on social as well. So with that, thank you, everyone, so much. Have a great evening.